Folks, I just deployed, just to give you an idea what's going on. Over here we got the Americans. I don't know what is what, but he's deployed there, up the road, and right there. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got 6 blinds markers, 2 there, and yeah, 3 there. 3 there, so he's got 6 blind markers. I don't know what they are. His deployment zone is in the white dice perimeter. Mine is in the red. So we're basically on the corners of the table. 3 foot by 2 foot section. No closer than 12 inches to each other. Turns deploying. So anyway, my force. I don't have as many. I have 1 less blind marker actually. But right here is my command coming up the road. That's 2 Panzer IVs. That's my company command. This is a dummy. That's nothing. Right here on the right flank, coming up around the hill, around the other side of the road, is a platoon of anti-tank guns, Pack 40s. Down here is the bulk of my force, and they're coming up the middle of the board almost, led by my 5 tank Panthers. Right there, platoon of Panthers, 3 tank platoon of Panzer IVs, and this is a blind. This is nothing. So I've got 2 dummies and 4 actual platoons. Headquarters, a Panther platoon, a Panzer IV platoon, and a Pack 40 platoon coming up on the flank. Alright, so that's the way I'm deployed. We'll see what happens. I don't know who's going to get the first turn or who's going to do what, but the objective, get to the other side's deployment zone by game end. He has the same objective, get within mine by game end, with no enemy in that deployment zone. So, meeting engagement. Here we go, folks. Now, I don't know what they're going to be doing. I see where they are. But as far as my deployment is concerned, what I'm going to do, for one thing, I have to get in his deployment zone by the end of the game. And the only forces I have on my right side of this hill is this one right here, and that's my anti-tank guns, platoon of them. I don't know why I put them there. I have no clue, but they're going to have to advance in their half tracks all the way up in that zone there. So I think I'm going to have to kind of hide them, maybe in that woods, take a position there and get some long distance shots and try and keep this avenue of approach open to get into his deployment zone. But I've got my command headquarters platoon. Again, it's Panzer IVs, 2 of them, on the road as kind of a reserve. I kind of want to get them out early when the time is right. That's blind. With these 2 right here, I got the Panthers and the Panzer IVs, and it looks like I'm going to be heading them up across the road into the village, and they'll be the ones to get into combat first and see what he's got up there. I don't know, but the Panthers are going to be leading the way. And I'll use my blind, I think, try and probably move them over in this area over here on the flank of the village. Kind of delay them, keep them thinking and guessing as to what that might be and what my intentions are. But I'm going to bide my time, take a good defensive position, see what he's got coming up that middle, and see what happens. Okay, so that's my strategy. And again, here's his force coming up the road. He's got 3 blinds over here on this side as well. So I don't know what that is. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, just had a 2-turn lull in the fighting, and now we are at turn 4. The only thing that really happened, I bumped these guys over. If you remember, they're a dummy unit. I'm doing some good spotting with them, but they didn't attempt to. Actually, they failed spotting anyone this turn. My Panzer IV platoon moved up to the hedge and spotted this. Spotted that one, which turned out to be the American headquarters platoon. So there's his company HQ, which I promptly ambushed with my Panzer IVs. You can see I'm denoting that they moved with these in the back behind the tank. And these 2 got 2 actions in reserve. And this tank right here took out that tank over there. So that's one less Sherman to worry about. And that right there is his company HQ. So I got him to worry about. Yeah, I spotted him leading his way up the road there with his command HQ. And I still don't know what this mess is. They're still kind of hunkering down. And I managed to move them up. If you remember, this is also a dummy for me. So that's not real. So hopefully I'll get some spotting off and see what's going on down here. But yeah, I ambushed the hell out of his company command right there. Took out one of his Shermans. So, Panzer IVs are paying off. Still got my reserve right back here. My Panthers, my HQ. Basically not doing anything right now. So yeah, that's what's going on. Got a little firefight going over there right in the center of the board. Let's see what happens. Well, here we are. This is the conclusion of turn 4. It was pretty nasty. For one thing, my Pack 40s opened up and ambushed those Shermans. Some of them were on the other side of this hedge. And they quickly took out this Sherman. Took a few shots at this guy, platoon commander, who fell back eventually. But this guy was taking shots from the side, so he bit the dust. So that's what they did. These forces up here advanced a little bit, tried to spot this German blind in the woods, who did the same thing to them. No success. Back in the middle, we got our Panzer IVs, who originally ambushed this platoon. Ended up losing a tank, and platoon commander is back here. He helped take out this tank right here with some good shots. So there was a big exchange of fire here between these Shermans and the Panzer IVs. And well, the Panzer IVs lost a tank, and the Shermans lost, well, ultimately 3 tanks. Well, actually, this is a command platoon with that guy, so that's separate. But yeah, I think I got that right. This tank was destroyed. This tank was destroyed by the Panzer, or the Pack 40s, and these two came under a lot of fire. In fact, this tank right here took a lot of shock. 3 in this point, took major engine damage, -3 to its move, and -3 to its activation, which is waiting for the next turn to happen. And I don't know, that's about it so far. We still got the Panthers back there hiding in reserve, and my platoon headquarters, or my company headquarters. Sorry folks, it's late, trying to get this game done. But anyway, that's the turn. Alright, let's see what happens next. It's the end of turn 5 or the end of turn 6, I'm not sure. But yeah, a lot of action happened here. I think the Shermans got spotted up here, revealed themselves, and cut loose on the Panzer IV right here, the big man for the Panzer IV platoon. So he got slaughtered. I think they got that armored bonus. Some of them moved down this way. They had one 76 Sherman in here who actually took that platoon commander out of there, while the rest of the platoon crossed after he was taken out, crossed all the way down here into this position, down here by the hedges. So they're really coming around the flank of the Germans. But over here, the Germans decided to ambush this platoon and revealed themselves. And surprise, surprise, we got this Panther platoon all set up ready in a defensive position around the hedges. So they managed to take out 2 Shermans come whipping around that way. So that doesn't look good. So they lost their platoon big man over there with the Panzer IVs, and they took out 2 Shermans down here, including one of the 76 Shermans that was in that platoon. There's 2 of them. I think all the Americans have 2 76s in their Sherman platoons. 2 76s and 3 75s, something like that. In the meantime, if you remember, I had back here in reserve, I had my company headquarters, and he finally hustled over the hedge here and ran up and around the hill. I don't know why, but that's where I am. I still got my anti-tank guns in there, they're just not getting off their ass, really. But yeah, that's the situation. Haven't been spotted yet. this position has fallen apart for the Americans. They got an abandoned tank, and they've fallen back to that side of the hedge over there. And I don't know, the Germans are getting their butts kicked here, the Americans are getting their butts kicked there. The Americans still have two blinds down there in the flank, coming up behind these guys. So, and there's the company commander, the Americans, taking cover behind the wall. So, there we are, folks. We'll see what happens in the next turn. I don't know what's going to happen, except these Panthers look nasty. Okay. Yeah, a little update on my part 1 of the video. Let's see, I'm playing the Germans, which are on that side over there. Down here's the Americans. And we're in the bottom of the 6th, so here's a quick rundown of the battle so far. Well, so far the Americans advanced up the road. They still have 1 unit platoon on a blind, and 2 more units on blinds over here, coming up through the woods. They spotted the German blind, which was over here in the woods earlier, and was a dummy, so there's nothing there. So these guys can pretty much just advance as they wish up here. They had a few blinds over here. One was the command platoon, lost one of its tanks, and the rest of the platoon is over here, which this in fact is the company commander. And this is a company that is fighting against the Germans, an armored company. And the other blinds, one was over in this field and was spotted earlier by a German dummy blind that was up on that hill, and it was a Sherman platoon, which was promptly ambushed by a platoon of Pak-40s in the woods, and subsequently they lost one of their tanks, and their platoon commander withdrew down to here now, and the rest of that platoon is here, destroyed Sherman, and here, which have been engaging and fighting against the German Panzer IV platoon over here, which again was revealed earlier in the game. Over here we had some more platoons of Americans. There was a Sherman platoon down here that eventually crossed over into the woods, into that field, took out that Panzer IV platoon commander, and moved their way down there, into those hedges. By doing that, they were ambushed by a platoon of Panthers, which revealed themselves over here and ambushed those Shermans, and they took out 2 Shermans. So that was the end of turn 6, and that's where we are. So let's see what happens. We're going into turn 7 now. I'll be back for an update, folks. Now, I guess I should add that overall, these fields, this one here and the one across the street, I've seen a lot of action. And the Panzer IVs took a beating. I got like 1 tank left in their 3-tank platoon, and which is here, which is under a lot of fire. And Sherman's over here. That platoon is, God, they're down like 2 tanks now. This one here has got gun sight damage. This one has been abandoned. I see that now. I marked it as abandoned. So they basically got this tank and this tank from that 1 platoon that was deployed here. And that tank is the company commander. This is still on blinds, and the rest of these tanks are destroyed. So, yeah, we'll see what happens and what that is. I'm curious what that is. Alright, so that was the end of turn 7. Let's see what happened. Let's see. For one thing, the Panthers didn't do anything this turn. They're still sitting there, just like the anti-tank guns. The headquarters, Panzer IV headquarters, moved up and decided to reveal themselves and take some shots at the Shermans, which they forced them back a little bit. But at the same time, this blind, if you remember from the previous turn, was sitting here. Now it's revealed as another Sherman platoon. So we got another platoon of Shermans to worry about on that road. This platoon big man lost his main gun. Tank lost its main gun. Took a lot of fire from this Panzer IV up there in the corner, and he decided to switch tanks. So there he is down here. He hauled out of there, hopped the wall, and he's going to jump in another tank from his platoon. So that happened. Let's see. Over here, Sherman's decided to pull back and try and swing around this hedge over here and get on the flank of these Panthers, which they managed to do. One of them did. In fact, the command Sherman did from that platoon. Got up to that corner, took some shots at the side of that Panther right there, but unfortunately, he failed to get through that thick armor. But as you can see, and I have it denoted here with this little smoke marker, this tank is now under fire. Had its gun sights damaged, and that's about it. And for good measure, the Panthers fired back and destroyed his tank. So that's the end of that Sherman. But if I look around the corner there, you'll see that that tank's big man jumped out. He survived the explosion. That's miraculous. That's two big men that have bailed their tanks. We'll see what happens there. One other thing I like to point out in this game is that with tank battles, it's pretty important that you show if a tank moved, or, well, in this case, if it moved, what I do is I take these little pieces of cotton here that look like explosion markers, and I put them behind the tank. And to me, when I'm playing the game, and these are taken off at the end of every turn, it's only important during a turn, I put them back there to show that they moved, which makes them harder to hit when they come under fire. So this is a nice little way of remembering that. Another thing I do, which is also important in tank battles, and I have been shot mum, is when a tank is under fire, it suffers penalties to firing back. And what I do to show that is I'll take another piece of cotton like this, and I'll put it next to the tank, either on the side or in front of it, usually wherever's convenient. And to me, that tells me that this tank is under fire and it had moved this turn. So that's a good way to remember. And at the end of the turn, all this would come off. So instead of using little counters all the time, like that one there says abandoned. That was abandoned earlier in the game. And of course, this is destroyed. But yeah, that's what's going on here. All right, let's see what happens in the next turn. There we go, folks. Here we are at the end of turn 8. Let's see what happened. Well, the Panthers finally got off their butts. They moved up into the road here. The big man, the platoon commander, moved up there across the road. He didn't get far enough, but nothing really threatened his flanks. Another tank moved down here from the platoon, and the rest of them all kind of moved over along this hedge. There's one there. One moved up to the corner, and he's been under a lot of heavy fire, as you can see by that little smoke marker in front of him. And he's taken a lot of fire from the Shermans. He's got like -1 engine damage, his gun sights are damaged, he's temporarily immobilized, and he has -3 activations, which is pretty bad. And the other Panther moved up into there. Another thing that happened is that the big man for the American platoon that was up in that tank finally hauled his ass down here, and he's about to get into that Sherman 76 right there. He didn't do it this turn. This American dummy revealed itself during the tea break, and it ended up being these Stuarts. They tried to ambush that one Panther tank. Of course, it just bounced off the armor, but there they are. Still got that dummy, or that, yeah, right, dummy. That blind right there for the Americans. That's the last blind in the game. And the Shermans are all kind of getting clustered here in the middle of the road. One of the Panzer IVs, that platoon activated and made its way down here, all the way down here. Took out one of the Shermans from this platoon, which was a 76. He attempted to get up to the hedge. He didn't make it. This big man from this platoon earlier, he finally got out of his tank, hopped the wall, like in the last turn I think he did, and he got inside this tank. So he's now in that tank. these guys started doing something finally. This pack 40 got off a shot. That pack 40 limbered up. I'm thinking about taking them up in that direction. Maybe getting some high ground behind those hedges. Having high ground in this game is pretty useful, especially for spotting, but it gives you bonus in shooting as well. So I'm going to see if I can do that. But yeah, this pack 40 did get a shot off. I'm not sure what he did. I'm pretty sure he hit somebody. Maybe he took that Sherman out over there. I don't know. I thought it was that Panzer IV that did that. No, I don't know. He did something. Okay, so that's the turn. Can't think of anything else. That's about it. Alright, till the next turn. There we are, folks. Bottom of turn 9. Let's see what we got going on here. Well, the Panthers did some action here. I got this Panther swinging down. He didn't actually get far, but that's as far as he got. Over here, though, this Panther right here in the middle of the road, he was originally up here. He swung down, took out the American company commander, killed him, in fact. Tank exploded, and he didn't survive. So that's pretty bad news for the Americans. And he hit this corner and decided to take another shot at this tank, this 76mm tank. And that tank is under a lot of fire. That's what that Panther managed to do. These tanks right here, the Shermans, managed to get some shots off. Did not hit. This Sherman took a chance, come down off the road and trying to get a flank shot on here. Unfortunately, he didn't get very far. Didn't do any damage to this tank. This tank responded back and did some massive damage to him. We got some really tight, close quarter shooting going on in this game. But he took 2 shock, engine damage, -2, -2 activation to this tank. This tank swung down from up here, trying to get on the flank of this tank. Ineffective. So far the German armor, even for the Panzer IVs, is kind of holding out for them. Again, this tank is still holding its ground, still sticking around. It should have withdrawn because of all the heavy fire. I mean, it's got 3 shock right now. It can't really do anything. It has to kind of withdraw into cover. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, he's immobilized, at least temporarily for the turn. He's -2 activation, engine damage. Yeah, that tank's under a lot of fire. This tank has no main gun, if you remember earlier. He's taken off down the road, pretty much being ignored. We've got the Stuarts over here. They didn't really do anything. They're kind of sitting back, except that lead one right there, which, again, is taking some shots on that one Panther tank sitting there. Of course, they're totally bouncing off its armor. These Panthers over here are rushing forward. I don't know what their plan is, but I think they're gonna kick some ass. Once again, we got the platoon big man over there from his original tank that was destroyed. Still trying to get in that tank there, which isn't destroyed. This is actually to mark that it's under fire by that Panther, in fact. Or that Panther, actually. That one had too much firepower put on it, so it had no actions to fire with or anything. But that tank right there, it's like one of the last 76s the Americans have. So, looking at it down here, we got like 5 Stuarts, 2 Shermans, going up against these 3 Panthers. We've got a Panzer IV still holding out there, last remnants of that platoon. We got the headquarters, German headquarters platoon with that tank and this tank down here, and another Panther from that Panther platoon way the hell over here. In fact, that's the Panther big man, the platoon headquarters, swinging around. And we still got this blind over here. Don't know what it is. It hasn't moved, hasn't activated yet. And we got this platoon here of 1, 2, 3, 4 Shermans. The headquarters platoon for the Americans is now entirely eliminated from the game. And they still have a 76 down here. So they got, I think the Americans got like 2 76s left. It's really their only hope against these Panthers. And we got the anti-tank guns, taking some pot shots where they can get them. One of them's limbered up. I don't have the model for that, but that one is actually a limbered anti-tank gun. Like I said, he's heading up to the road, try and get on this hill behind the hedges, maybe provide some cover fire for the Panthers. I don't know. I think the Germans kind of pretty much have this game sealed up. We'll see what happens. It's turn 9, bottom of turn 9. The game ends in, let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3 more draws of the blank card. And if you don't know what that is, when a blank card is drawn 10 times, it's just a blank card. But when it comes up 10 times, the game ends. So, at least in this scenario. And so far it's come up 7 times. So, we'll see. We're going to another turn. I don't know, man. Americans are hard pressed. Okay. Decent. Sad to say, but it's over. Americans took their beating. After a couple activations in turn 10, the Americans conceded the battle. Probably because their company commander was killed, in addition to their 76mm tanks. In fact, I don't think they have any left on the table. The Panthers were one of the first ones to activate this turn, and they just shot everything to death. Took out the enemy 76s, this tank down here. Good shooting by him. Down here, same kind of thing. One of the Stuarts was taken out. Right here, not a big issue, but it's one less tank. And that tank over there, that big man has been trying to get into, I think a couple turns now, just hasn't been able to do it. He's under heavy fire. And that tank right there, one with the marker, this one is abandoned. It took a lot of fire from these Panthers over here, and as a result, it was abandoned. Just too much firepower in those Panthers. I don't know. I think for the Americans, their cards just didn't come up the way I would expect them to. They had a level 3 big man. Germans had a level 4, but that really didn't matter too much. It's just that it seemed like the Americans were kind of just broken up, and they couldn't get their firepower concentrated enough on these Germans. I mean, after the first few turns anyway. I mean, the turn started off right here in the middle, with the Panzer IVs going against the Shermans, and it was pretty much a even battle there. And then the anti-tank guns showed up, surprised the Shermans outside of the hedge over here, took out one, and just that. Ever since that, the Americans just began to come back further towards the road, and as the Germans kept revealing their troops and just kept on pushing forward, and yeah, just that's the way it was going. And I think now at the end of the game, I think there's like 5 Panther tanks. One of them was under a lot of heavy fire, almost abandoned. That was the worst they suffered. Their 3 tank platoon of Panzer IVs suffered pretty badly in the beginning. They only got 1 tank left, which is on the verge of withdrawing from the battle. And their headquarters platoon, the Panzer IV there, and this one here, did pretty good. But they're still alive and kicking. The Americans, I don't know what to say. I mean, they lost, look at that, they lost 2 tanks destroyed there. This one's under a lot of heavy fire and 1 point of shock. They lost their 2 tank headquarters, company headquarters. They were destroyed. Their company commander was killed. This platoon over here in the field, I think, is all destroyed. I think that tank right there is trying to run for its life with its machine guns. And that's the only one of them. This platoon of Shermans down here, it's pretty much 1, 2 tanks, I think. That's it. No 76s. That's all they got going against all this. And the Stuarts, well, they're pretty much useless in this battle going against the Panthers. They got 3 of them sitting right there. and that big man just can't get his act together and grab a tank. And they got one more Sherman, so 3 Panthers, 1 Sherman, 4 Stuarts. I think the Panthers are going to have that one. Similar situation down here. So if they didn't concede, it was pretty much a draw all the way through the game. Remember, the objective was to get into the opponent's deployment zone. Excuse me. Yeah, pretty much the entire game was pretty much a draw right up until the last turn of the game, when it just was too much, too overwhelming for the Americans. So yeah, that's what I think. And I think if the Americans could have concentrated their forces a little bit better and their firepower from their Shermans, I think it would have been a different outcome. I don't know. A lot of it has to do with opportunities that come through the deck of cards. And if you don't capitalize them in the proper way, you get punished. And it was a very good game. Very good game. I highly recommend I Ain't Been Shot, Mum, if you're interested in World War II gaming. There's a lot of friction in it. It doesn't give you a lot of godlike control over your armies and the tabletop. Of course, it's right there, you can see. You got the use of blinds in the game. You don't know what is what, which is interesting. You get a lot of ambushes and stuff, and false deployments and movements. It's very interesting. Yeah, so I hope to get a bunch more battle reports up, higher quality. This is basically just a test run, something that I wanted to do just for myself. But I decided to post it anyway. People want to see it, and I figured I'd put it up. So I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you again soon. Okay, my friends, hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.